Okie dokie, boys and girls, it is day 35 of overcoming my ankle injury, and today, well, it feels good to say that I've done my first 10-kilometer run. Very happy, but also it was very difficult to actually run it. I'm nowhere near the shape anymore that I was when preparing for the Shimanami Ultra Marathon. Back then I was doing 10 kilometers every day. It felt like a recovery day at the pace that I did it, today. It was very slow, right? And yeah, today, it really didn't feel like a recovery day. It felt like a heavy day. But instead of focusing on how weak you've gotten, you should really just focus on how strong your injured body part is getting again, because that's the only thing that matters. If you focus too much on how out of shape you've gotten, right, it will lead to trying to rush back into the shape you were before. But that's not important. What's important is that the one weak link, that caused you to be injured in the first place, that gets stronger. And really, like injuries, most of the time, they don't happen by accident, right? They happen for a reason. They happen because you have a weak body part. And before you were in kind of a shape, right? For me, I could run 10 kilometers every day. And you were in that shape despite having the weak link, even though you didn't notice it yet, right? And so, if you, instead of focusing on getting back into shape, if you can focus on making your weak link, your injured body part, stronger, you will automatically get into a better shape than before. Not just the same shape, right? You're making your ankle, in my case, the ankle, right? Whatever thing is injured for you, you're making it stronger than before. And in doing so, you're going to have to overcome hurdles. When you overcome those, right? You will just notice, like, hey, I'm in a better shape than before. So for me, if I can create stronger ankles than before, ankles that are, better able to absorb shocks and this and that, right? If I can improve my running technique. Once I, complete that phase and can think to myself like, hey, now I'm stronger than before. My Charmander ankle has evolved into a Charmeleon ankle, or well, ideally a Charizard, right? My ankles have become stronger, right? When I, am in a situation that I finally notice that, you kind of zoom out, you look at the bigger picture, you will now notice that, hey, probably you're in a better shape than before, right? And you're stronger than before, more durable than before. So don't focus on whatever shape you're in at the moment as a whole. Focus on the one thing that matters, the weak link, because everything else before was strong enough already. It will, it will get better again along with the weak body part you're trying to make stronger. So that's very important. But anyway, today 10 kilometers have absorbed enough shocks. I'm gonna make sure that I recover well, and tomorrow will be, a recovery day too. So instead, what I'm gonna do instead of leg day, yes, I am gonna skip leg day. Although I guess running is a leg day as well. I'm gonna head outside and do a push day, and it might even be a two-part push day. I might be, heading out in the afternoon and do another little training. But anyway, let's go. Okay, so whatever I said about, heading outside to the park and perhaps doing today's workout in two parts, forget about it. Because well, once I headed outside and started working out, I just forgot about everything, including talking. So I guess those are the best workouts, right? You forget everything else. But yeah, today was a good workout. And well, I guess I will shortly explain what I did instead is, well, I went back to my origin. When I started doing calisthenics, I subconsciously started doing this kind of workout where I started to work out with about 5 sets of planche push-ups. Back then it was, tuck planche in probably bad form. I don't know. I didn't record. And then I would finish off the workout with a bit of straight arm sets. Today, you will see I did some presses, but back in the day, I couldn't do a press. I couldn't do a planche hold. So I was basically doing attempts, of the tuck planche and the advanced tuck planche, pedal planche or dynamic holds, where you try to go into the planche for reps basically, but something with straight arms, and I would do it usually 3 sets because I was only working out twice or 3 times a week back then. So yeah, I had plenty of time to recover, but every time I go back to this style of workout where, I start with some push ups, I finish off with some straight arm work, I build my base, I become stronger. And, I wouldn't say it's the best method for planche training in general because once you want to peak into a hold, let's say you want to attempt, a first straddle planche or you want to attempt a longer hold than before, you want to beat your PR, that's when you have to kind of like deviate and peek into the hold, because this workout is heavily push-up based. You're doing your push-ups as the first thing, but if I wanted to peek into a hold, I would do a couple trainings where I tried perhaps max hold in the first couple sets, right? And I would peek into it. And once I got used to it, that's when I would, attempt my max hold. But when it comes to not just peaking, but building the pace, yeah, these push-up workouts, they always benefited me. And one thing you have to be careful of is, well, when you're doing the push-ups, don't spam them. It's okay if you don't hold it, like hold the planche position for 2 seconds after the push-ups. That's okay, but you should at least finish to a point where even if you don't hold it, you know that if you tried, you could hold it, right? That's kind of what you want to aim for. If you're doing your push-ups and you're just using momentum to like straighten your arms for just one moment, right? And you immediately fall back down. That's when you're not really training a planche anymore. That's when you're, well, training no leg push-ups, I guess. But yeah, that's the only thing you have to be careful with. But other than that, if you can just focus on doing the planche push-ups correctly, right, where you know that you can still hold it, then you will build your shoulder strength and, well, maybe not that much your bicep strength, but you will build a base for the planche, in my opinion, right? But perhaps I should talk about this more in detail in a different video. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today's workout. Very happy with how it went. Very happy with the 10 kilometer run. Now I'm gonna patch up some blisters, I guess, and I'll see you tomorrow for a rehab focused day.